Welcome to the Church in the Wild podcast. You'll be hearing the words from worship from Sunday, August 9th, 2026, where we continue our conversation on holy waters with a look at the Great Lakes. If you want to find out more about Church in the Wild and all of our upcoming events and programs, just go to churchinthewild.org. Thanks for listening.
So my name is Cheryl. Pronouns are she and her. Our theme today is Great Lakes, and just in case anyone isn't familiar with the Great Lakes, they're a series of large, hence great, lakes, freshwater lakes located along the border between the U.S. and Canada. In fact, the U.S.-Canadian border runs through the middle of 4 of the 5 lakes. Most of them are named after Native American words, and west to east from Minnesota to New York, they're Lake Superior, Lake Huron, Lake Michigan, Lake Erie, and Lake Ontario. I would assume most of you are probably the most familiar with Lake Ontario since it's only a couple hours north of us here. But that doesn't mean you've ever been. The Great Lakes all flow into each other and then ultimately to the Atlantic Ocean by the St. Lawrence Seaway, and they're also connected to the Mississippi River, so they get down to the Gulf of Mexico. They were formed by the last glacial period, 10 to 12,000 years ago, when the glaciers receded and left behind meltwater. And, oh, sorry, yes, I can. And they're not just great, they're massive, massive. They have more than a fifth of the world's fresh water, a fifth of the world's fresh water. And their water surface is more than 95,000 square miles. They're 1,300 feet deep at their deepest. And this is the one that blows my mind the most. They contain 6 quadrillion gallons of water. I can't even imagine that number, 6 quadrillion, but scientists put it in perspective as if that 6 quadrillion gallons of water was poured over the 48 lower states, it would be 9.5 feet deep, coast to coast. That is a lot of water. And I think I read I didn't write this one down, but someone else said if you put it over all of North America, it's like 4 feet deep. I mean, it's just crazy how much water is in those lakes. They're the largest inland water transportation system in the world. And they're so big, the features can be seen from the moon. And they're so big, they create their own weather. They're prone to sudden storms and severe storms, which has resulted in hundreds of shipwrecks over the centuries. The most recent one being, and probably the most well-known, the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. When I was a kid and I heard that song, I imagined that this wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald happened in like the 17th or 18th century. And I only just recently found out, I think it was the 50th anniversary or something, I only just recently found out that it was in 1975 that happened to this big ship with all the modern technology we have. Because of their size, they have a moderating effect on the climate and produce fruit belts along their edges, meaning fruit can be grown there that can't be grown usually up this far north. I grew up near Rochester, and if you drive along the coast of Lake Ontario, for miles there's orchard upon orchard of cherries and apples and peaches and plums. And I've also driven along the thruway from like Buffalo to Erie, Pennsylvania, and there's just grapes everywhere. And the other Great Lakes have similar things. So they have a moderating effect on the climate, but they also have the magnifying effect. I'm sure everybody's heard of lake effect snowfall and, the big blizzards in Buffalo and all that. Those are caused because in late winter, quite often, the lakes are not frozen all the way to the middle because of their size and the volume of water. And so as the winds from the west come along and hit that warmer air and water and then hit the colder land, they just dump. And there can be 5 or 6 feet of snow in one location and none a few miles away. I haven't seen this, maybe some of you have, but I've heard that at SUNY Oswego they have some sort of ropes or railings so that students don't get lost when there's sudden whiteouts. You've seen that?
In certain if they're under a certain weight because of the weight.
Oh my goodness. Could you hear that over there?
He knew somebody that only could weight under 100 go down.
I'll just repeat this for the recording in case they couldn't hear it.
Yeah, the lake is beautiful right there. I went there first semester in the dorm, right by the lake.
Ah, beautiful, but then frightening when you can't see a thing. Another interesting weather pattern that is in the Great Lakes, and it probably occurs elsewhere, but it's only well documented in the Great Lakes, is the formation of ice volcanoes, where the storm winds will push the ice and the slush and water up into this kind of volcano-like structure. You can search it on Google if you want to see what it looks like. Unfortunately, the Great Lakes have been subject to pollution, like many of our bodies of water. Up till the 70s, steel mills, chemical plants, and auto factories were dumping heavy metals like mercury and zinc into the water and the tributaries, and the lakeside cities were growing faster than the municipal treatment plants could keep up with them. And so Lake Erie was actually declared biologically dead in the late 60s because of the toxic sludge and fish kills and algal blooms. I remember hearing, I don't know how old I was, 20s maybe, somewhere in the 70s or 80s, I heard that girls, even girls, not just women, but girls and women should not eat even one fish from Lake Erie because of, in case they might get pregnant sometime because of the mercury level. One fish. I mean, that stuck with me all these years because I just couldn't believe it when I heard it. But in 1972, the US EPA was created and the US and Canada signed the first Great Lakes Water Quality Agreement. And since then, as you know, various chemicals have been banned and there have been cleanups. In 2009, the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative was launched and has put billions of dollars into trying to clean up the lakes and restore habitats. But there's still remaining old toxic sediments and modern microplastics and still agricultural fertilizer runoff. So they're still challenge the health of the lakes and the ecosystems. But in good news, while it still faces challenges, Lake Erie is no longer considered dead. After they put strict controls on phosphorus in the 1970s and 80s, the walleye fish population exploded from a low of only about 100,000 to millions again. And the Clean Water Act curtailed the direct dumping of chemicals and sewage. But we do, of course, still need to keep fighting to keep the waters, including the Great Lakes, clean. Those lakes provide 56 billion gallons of water a day for municipal, agriculture, and industrial use, including drinking water for 40 million people. 56 billion gallons a day, you think it's got to run out, but that's only less than 0.1% of the total volume. And of course, many people use the lakes for recreation, swimming, boating, fishing, water skiing, just laying by the lake. So I'd say the Great Lakes deserve their name great for many reasons. And I learned a lot looking into that. I hope you learned something new too.
Hi, I'm Sue, she, her, and our poem today is At the Lake Singing Our Song, an Ojibwe lake chant. Paddling along on the lake in our canoe, traveling along with the fishes, the birds, among the waves in calm waters too, singing our water song, at the lake singing our song.
Hi, I'm Natalie, and my pronouns are she, her. Our wisdom today comes from an ancient Anishinaabe belief about the lakes, is that they are huge storage rooms of water that contain the DNA and the memories of countless beings. Water does more than sustain life. It contains and transports pieces of memory that persist throughout ages, even in extremely high dilutions. The lakes that contain all that water are living entities, teachers that have for countless generations passed on legends, knowledge, and wisdom to our peoples. Much of this has been forgotten, and I think it is therefore important to understand and relearn this ancient knowledge. All we must do is sit down at the waterfront and honor the water. Lay our tobacco down on the water. Let us close our eyes, empty our minds, and imagine the water flowing through our body and cleansing our spirits. Let us become formless, shapeless, like the water itself. Then, let us talk to the water. Listen to the water. It will talk back to us. Let us learn from it. Join me in the response to this wisdom in the program. Our Great Lakes nurture life across our land. May we give thanks and listen to their wisdom.
All water is holy water. Yes? Amen? However you want to respond to that. We should come up with a call and response. All water is holy water. Good job. And that's what we're talking about this month, water. It is the most universal symbol across all wisdom traditions, religions, faiths, practices. Water. It is always a symbol involved in our spiritual lives from the beginning of human history. It represents life, quite literally, purification, adaptability, renewal, mystery, and the interconnectedness of all things. Lao Tzu, the author of the Tao Te Ching, says, "Nothing is softer or more flexible than water, yet nothing can resist it." I'm a big fan of water. And I think it does have a lot to teach us. And so for this month of August, which apparently yesterday was World Water Day, I didn't even plan that as being part of our August theme. But this August, we are focusing in on water, what we can learn from it, not just as an element, but the different bodies, the different sizes and amounts and forms that water takes on our planet. So last week we talked about the ocean, right? The OG water. It was the only water there was on our planet, and our planet was all water. We were ocean. We were water world in the beginning. All water everywhere. And from that water, life formed. Land arose, oxygen started being produced, we got an atmosphere, and life came into the water first. So life happened first as sea creatures before they crawled out onto land. So this week, we are moving on from ocean. We learned a lot. We talked about how the ocean is one of the best icons we can have for God. It's so powerful, it's peaceful, there, it creates, it can destroy, right? There's all these great similarities between the ocean and the Creator. It's nurturing, soothing. I feel like it's the breath of the planet, just the waves going back and forth. Put you right to sleep. And I love that phrase, that little line I've heard many times before. I don't know who said it, but the cure for anything is salt water, right? Sweat, tears, or the sea will cure anything that ails you. So this week we are moving on from the greatest bodies of water on the planet, the ocean, to our next size down that's close to us, the Great Lakes. We've already heard Bill spent some time there. Anybody else spent any time around the Great Lake? Yeah. We lived in Buffalo for a while, so we were on Erie and near Ontario. No? A little bit? Rochester, yeah. Yeah, so we are one of the many states and provinces that border a Great Lake, even though it feels very far from us. Yeah, 2 of them. It feels kind of far from us here, but we're part of New York. We get a Great Lake. We claim them. So like the ocean waters, those lakes are all connected, as Cheryl said. So it's really one giant lake.
I think we should count it that way. And when we do, it's the largest inland sea in the world, if we count them all as one, which they are all connected, right? So it's one giant inland sea. It's hard to even call it a lake, right? Because there's no seeing to the other side. They're super deep. They have waves. They have some tides, but not because of the pull of the moon, just because of the wind and weather. The water levels will rise and fall. But they are enormous, and they are crucial to this continent being what it is, this lush green place. North America, or Turtle Island, as it was originally called, bless you, by the natives here, is what it is because of these lakes. And you see how people have gathered, right? Civilization forms around water. So there's always, cities along the coasts, but we have this great inland sea that nurtured tons of life around it, not just human life, of course. So according to the teachings of the Chippewa, it was the sacred Medjis shell that guided the people of the waters to the big water. So it is Anishinaabe legend that people came from this area, from the East Coast. They found a shell that they didn't have anywhere around here, because here, like in this area, we're pretty far from the ocean, but we're pretty far from the Great Lakes. So they found a shell, and they wondered, where did this come from? And they started going west. And they say this Medjis shell led them to find Gichigami, the big waters, the great waters in the west. So the Anishinaabe people who inhabit the shores and islands of the Great Lakes have always sensed and appreciated the powerful majesty of these lakes and their omnipresence in their daily lives. To them, the scar-like slopes, the pretty beaches and colored coves and caverns, as well as all the animals, and they talk about the big and little spirits of the lakes. They reside there as an embodied sacred story of those waters that they have been a part of for a very long time as human beings, but that they were brought to. They really see themselves as this was an Eden, a paradise, a sacred place that they were led to. So they knew the rocks, the natural surroundings of the lakes were filled with mysterious beings and lessons and songs, teachings, all of it rhythmically washing ashore with the waves of these sacred waters from the beginning of time. And the Anishinaabe storyteller, Zhaawano Giizhik, who our wisdom came from, also said, when you look into the clear lake, the image you see in the water is not yours. What you see is the reflection of those who came before you. As we talked about last week, water holds vibration. There's been lots of cool experiments to show when you speak to water negatively or positively, the shape of its frozen crystals changes. So water holds on to vibration and memory. And this is something ancient peoples of this land knew for a long time that now science is catching up to, right? And the other cool thing connected to that idea is that our planet has a closed water system, right? I don't know that I think about our water system regularly, but, right, remember learning about, right, it rains and evaporates, and that's a closed loop. There is no new water being created and sent to our planet from outer space, right? All the water we have here on this planet is all the water we have. And it just keeps getting cycled through the water cycle. It is the same finite supply, endlessly recycled through the planet, meaning the water we have today is the same water that has existed for billions of years. It is that same water that once covered the entire planet. And we know, right, water holds memory. It holds on to what has happened to it and around it. It's a reflection of the Earth's history. So the Anishinaabe people are totally right. When we look into the water, we're not just seeing ourselves reflected, we are seeing all of history held in those waters, these waters. The rain that falls, the water that comes out of our tap has been here since the beginning of the planet. Yeah. This is one of those mind-boggling kind of ideas, like the amount of water held in the Great Lakes, hard to wrap our brain around. It's hard to wrap our brain around. Billions of years old, this water has existed forever. But it's important to bring some awareness to that as we interact, and especially as we seek to learn from water this month. So it's fascinating to me how different cultures all feel this draw and connection to water. And as I was researching about the Great Lakes and the spiritual connection that the original people of this land had, I also found this from Dr. Christopher Feechey, a Hindu professor of religion who lives near Lake Michigan. He says, from my own practice as a Hindu, there's a sense that the lakes, the water, are a place where you can meet the sacred directly. In Hindu traditions, people worship sacred rivers like the Ganges and the Yamuna River, with an understanding that these rivers are actual manifestations of divinity. And he says, my experience of the Great Lakes now has become deeper, because in the very same sense I would approach the Ganges River in India as a being of sacred manifestation of divinity, that's how I feel now towards the Great Lakes. That whole deep understanding of the sacredness of water that we actually directly encounter and have intimate relationship with the divine through this element. That is something I take with me every time I go to the lakes. These waters are ancient. As ancient as we can conceive our Creator being, right? Sure, our Creator made the waters, made all that is, and they represent to us that ancient beginning and source of life. So as we continue to connect with water, to sit and listen to the wisdom of the waters, as we think more about water and how we interact with it, as we try to conserve it, let's also give thanks and remember that when we encounter this water, it's encountering us. It's remembering us. It's taking a little bit of us with it as it enters the cycle of waters. So we give thanks for our freshwater seas, the Great Lakes. We give thanks to our Creator, who the Anishinaabe call Gichi Manadu. So Gichi, the great Creator, the great mystery, and the Great Lakes. I love that commonality. We thank Gichi Manadu, the great mystery, for Gichi Manan, the great sacred waters of the Great Lakes that have nurtured and fed the ancestors of this land for centuries, both in body and spirit. We thank you, Gichigamen, the great waters, for holding the memory of the people of this land and for sharing life.
Notice the surface of the lake being disrupted by the wind. Lots of waves, some quiet spots, some more waves. And either looking at the lake, continuing to look at the lake softly, or closing your eyes if that helps you move into a meditative place. Just notice what waves are on the surface of your mind right now. Thoughts, emotions, worries, maybe even celebrations, moving like ripples across the surface of your mind. No need to stop them, just notice them moving. Notice if they're choppy waters or gentle. Whatever weather might be going on in your mind, just observe it, like watching the surface of the lake. And notice if this moment of observation has changed your breathing in any way. Calmed it, or maybe riled it up. And just allow your breath to become a bit more deep, a bit more even. And now I invite you to notice that just like there is the choppy surface of the lake and the quiet waters deeper down, so it is with you. There is a deeper place inside you of quiet, stillness, grace. And even when the surface waters are choppy, this deep place is not affected. This deep place can hold whatever we bring to it. This place of holiness and our connection to all that is. And let these deep waters nourish you. Fill you. Hold you. Cleanse you. And connect you to everyone in this circle and to creation and our Creator and to all that is. And if you find your attention wandering to surface thoughts again, as you may, no need to criticize yourself. Just drop again into that deeper water, that place of greater stillness, wisdom, connection.
Yep, very good.
And as we begin to wind up this time of meditation, take a moment to express gratitude for anything you might have received. Gratitude to the Great Spirit for always being with us, within, between, around, above, below, to our sides. And know that you can return to this place of connection, this deeper place, anytime you remember to. Life pulls us to the surface, it just does. And we can always return to the deep waters. We give thanks. Amen.
I hope we will all live with intention, remembering what we do matters, because we are all connected by the waters of our world as we share this planet home. Deep peace of running wave to you. Deep peace of flowing air to you. Deep peace of the quiet earth to you. Deep peace of the shining stars to you. Deep peace of the source of peace to you. And we'll sing peace, salam, shalom. 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 Thank you all for being with us.